The gala shimmered with wealth, influence, and carefully practiced smiles as my wife walked ahead of me, poised and glowing with confidence. I slowed near the entrance, scanning the room, feeling something was wrong before I saw it. Then it happened. She stepped directly into my boss's arms, laughing openly as he pulled her close and kissed her without a second thought. Conversations stopped. Glasses hung suspended midair. A few people laughed awkwardly, assuming it was some kind of joke. It wasn't. I felt dozens of glances dart toward me, waiting for anger, shame, or a breakdown. I didn't rush forward. I didn't raise my voice. I straightened my cuff quietly and took one measured step toward them. My boss finally noticed me, his grin slipping just a little. My wife followed his eyes, the color draining from her face. I spoke one sentence, steady and emotionless. Laughter vanished instantly. The music cut off. A glass slipped from someone's hand and shattered sharply. Silence consumed the room as everyone sensed the evening had permanently shifted. My words weren't loud, but they carried weight. I said calmly that his confidence was remarkable for a man who didn't yet know the board had finalized his removal 30 minutes earlier. The reaction was instant. My boss stiffened, blinking as if he'd misunderstood. My wife stepped back slowly, confusion replacing her arrogance. Whispers spread like shockwaves. He forced a laugh, asking what game I thought I was playing. I smiled faintly and suggested he check his phone. His hands trembled as he did. His face emptied of color as the messages appeared. Around us, executives subtly backed away, grasping the truth faster than he could. My wife reached for my arm without thinking. I stayed still. She asked what was happening. I didn't answer her. I told him evenly that ethics committees frown on public affairs involving spouses of senior staff, especially when the spouse belongs to the whistleblower. The word lingered in the air. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Power drained away quicker than champagne fizz. The room stood frozen, watching authority dissolve without shouting or drama. My wife finally spoke, her voice shaking, demanding to know what I'd done. I looked at her softly and said nothing. Silence spoke more clearly. My boss tried to regain control, insisting this was private, something to discuss later. I shook my head. I explained calmly that private betrayal becomes public consequence when displayed openly. He stumbled over his words, searching faces for support. None came. People instinctively avoid sinking ships. I told him the investigation had begun months earlier. Evidence submitted quietly, patterns tracked patiently. Tonight was never a celebration. It was timing. His hand shook as security approached with practiced politeness. My wife whispered my name like a question she couldn't afford answered. I told her gently that loyalty isn't conditional. Her knees faltered slightly. Cameras appeared. No one laughed anymore. The gala had turned into a lesson unfolding live. Not revenge, but resolution. When security led him away, there was no applause, only silence. Silence is what remains when illusions finally fall. She tried to explain, grabbing for me, words tumbling over themselves. I stepped back calmly, opening space where trust once existed. I told her this wasn't a conversation for tonight. She accused me of traps, of cruelty, of humiliation. I replied evenly that humiliation requires chaos. This was clarity. Around us, guests pretended not to watch and failed. Someone quietly shut off the music. She asked how long I'd known. I said long enough to stop arguing with reality. Her anger fractured into fear. She understood control was gone. I told her she'd mistaken secrecy for intelligence. Nearby guests overheard everything without effort. Truth doesn't whisper. It moves. I picked up my coat slowly, buttoned it, and thanked the hosts for the evening. Politeness unsettled everyone more than anger ever could. I didn't look back as I walked away. Behind me, conversations never restarted. The party continued, but it was already finished. Outside, The night air felt cleaner than anything trapped inside that room. My phone buzzed without stopping. I ignored it. Closure doesn't come from explanations. It comes from decisions. Inside, she was unraveling, learning how quickly admiration fades when truth walks in. I drove home calmly, packed what mattered, and left the rest behind. By morning, messages poured in from coworkers, friends, even strangers. I answered none of them. Silence isn't avoidance, it's final. She came later, eyes swollen, confidence gone, asking how everything collapsed so fast. I told her it hadn't. It had simply stopped being hidden. She pleaded for a conversation, for understanding, for forgiveness. I listened without interrupting, then told her forgiveness doesn't promise access. That sentence shattered something in her. I wished her well, and I meant it. Some endings don't need shouting, lawyers, or revenge. They need one person choosing not to share space with betrayal anymore. Calm choices dismantle entire lives faster than anger ever could. The aftermath unfolded quietly. My boss faded from headlines within weeks. My wife disappeared from my future for good. I rebuilt my routines without drama. Morning walks, focused work, steady silence. People asked how I stayed so calm. I told them calm comes when hope finally leaves. Not bitter hope, just illusion. I never spoke badly about her. I didn't have to. Her actions spoke clearly enough. Invitations shifted. Circles changed. Respect moved elsewhere. She later tried to rewrite the story, painting me as cold and calculated. It didn't hold. Calm men unsettle liars because they don't react. They document. They wait. They walk away. I learned that power isn't volume or control over others. It's control over yourself when you're provoked in public. That night showed me dignity survives even the loudest betrayal. When people expect chaos and receive restraint, they don't know where to place their blame. Silence becomes armor, and armor doesn't argue. Months later, the memory feels far away, not painful. I don't remember the kiss as much as the stillness that followed. That was when everything truly ended. Not when they laughed, not when they kissed, but when I spoke calmly and stopped engaging. People still talk about that gala, about how the room froze. They ask what I said. I tell them it doesn't matter. The sentence wasn't the weapon, the certainty was. My wife lost everything the moment she believed I wouldn't act. My boss lost everything the moment he mistook secrecy for protection. I lost nothing I wanted to keep. The party didn't end because of anger. It ended because truth entered and refused to leave quietly. That's what silence does when paired with resolve. It doesn't shout, it doesn't threaten, it ends things. And once something ends that way, there's nothing left to negotiate, explain, or save.